For decades, King Charles III prepared for the role that finally became his after a lifetime of waiting. Yet in recent months, every adjustment to his public schedule, every update regarding his health, and every discussion about the future of the monarchy has sparked one question among royal observers. What happens if the king is eventually unable to carry out all of his constitutional responsibilities? That question has become the center of growing public discussion, not because Buckingham Palace has announced any intention for King Charles to step aside, but because speculation surrounding the monarchy's future continues to intensify whenever the king's health becomes a topic of conversation. Across social media, royal commentary channels, and opinion pieces, some commentators have even suggested that an abdication could eventually become part of the conversation. Others strongly disagree, pointing to King Charles's own lifelong commitment to duty and the historical reluctance of modern British monarchs to voluntarily relinquish the throne. At present, however, there has been no official announcement that King Charles has said, "I can no longer serve," nor has Buckingham Palace announced plans for an abdication. The debate remains one driven largely by speculation rather than confirmed royal policy. Still, the discussion raises an interesting constitutional question. If a reigning monarch ever reached the point where continuing official duties became increasingly difficult, what options would actually exist? Many people immediately assume abdication would be the obvious answer, but constitutional experts often explain that Britain's system provides several possibilities before such an extraordinary step would ever be considered. History offers useful context. The last British monarch to abdicate was King Edward VIII in 1936, a decision driven by personal circumstances rather than health. Since then, the monarchy has largely embraced the principle that the sovereign serves for life, making any discussion of abdication politically, constitutionally, and emotionally significant. King Charles himself has spent decades emphasizing duty above personal preference. Even after becoming king, he maintained a demanding schedule despite later receiving treatment for cancer, with Buckingham Palace continuing to provide periodic updates regarding his health while confirming his intention to continue fulfilling constitutional responsibilities whenever possible. That public commitment is one reason speculation surrounding the king's future generates such strong reactions. Some royal commentators believe Charles would never willingly step aside because of the example set by Queen Elizabeth II, whose reign became synonymous with lifelong service. Others argue that modern realities, including medical advances, changing expectations, and the existence of constitutional mechanisms such as councillors of state or, in extraordinary circumstances, a regency, mean discussions about succession have become more practical than they once were. None of this means an abdication is imminent. Rather, it highlights the difficult balance every modern monarchy must strike between continuity, public confidence, and the personal well-being of the sovereign. At the center of every discussion stands another figure whose future has been examined for years: William, Prince of Wales. As heir to the throne, Prince William continues expanding his public responsibilities while supporting King Charles during major national events. Royal commentators frequently note that this gradual increase in responsibility is a normal part of preparing for eventual kingship, not necessarily evidence that a transition is approaching. Even so, whenever the king's schedule changes or new health information becomes public, speculation naturally returns. Could Prince William someday inherit the throne sooner than expected? Would King Charles ever consider stepping aside if circumstances change dramatically? Or would he remain committed to serving for the rest of his reign, regardless of the challenges involved? Those questions continue fueling debate among royal watchers around the world, even as the palace itself remains focused on the king's ongoing duties rather than hypothetical constitutional scenarios. As speculation surrounding King Charles's future continued to spread, royal commentators began examining not only the king's health, but also the constitutional framework that would come into play if circumstances were ever to change. While Buckingham Palace has not announced any intention for the king to step aside, the discussion itself has prompted renewed interest in how the monarchy prepares for every possible scenario. One point repeatedly raised by royal analysts is that institutions like the monarchy rarely wait for a crisis before making plans. Long before any difficult decision is ever required, officials are believed to maintain contingency procedures designed to ensure continuity. That doesn't necessarily mean those procedures are about to be used. It simply reflects the reality that the crown has always planned for unexpected developments. It is within that context that some commentators have begun speculating about conversations that could, in theory, be taking place behind palace walls. According to various online reports and royal discussion channels, senior advisors may already be reviewing different constitutional possibilities, not because abdication has been decided, but because responsible institutions routinely prepare for every eventuality. Those reports remain unverified, and no official source has confirmed that any extraordinary transition planning is underway. Even so, the speculation has continued to grow. Part of the reason is the king's own determination to continue working despite undergoing cancer treatment. Public appearances have demonstrated his commitment to fulfilling official duties whenever possible, but they have also reminded many observers that even a monarch is ultimately human. Royal historians often point out that no sovereign can ignore physical limitations forever. That reality has led some commentators to ask whether King Charles himself may occasionally reflect on the balance between personal well-being and public duty. There is no public evidence revealing the king's private thoughts on the matter, yet the question alone has become a recurring theme across royal analysis. If such reflections were ever taking place, they would almost certainly involve Prince William. As heir to the throne, William occupies a unique constitutional position. Every major engagement he undertakes today serves two purposes. It supports the reigning monarch while simultaneously preparing the future king for responsibilities that will one day become entirely his own. Over the past year, many royal observers have noted William's increasingly prominent role at state occasions, diplomatic events, and national ceremonies. None of that is unusual. Every heir gradually assumes greater responsibility as time passes. Yet for some commentators, these developments have fueled speculation that the palace is ensuring William could seamlessly assume additional duties if circumstances ever required it. Again, that should not be interpreted as evidence that a transition is imminent. Rather, it reflects standard constitutional preparedness. Still, rumors have gone much further. Some online commentators have even claimed that confidential discussions regarding succession planning have become more frequent behind palace walls. Those claims have not been verified, and no official documentation supporting them has been released. Nevertheless, they continue circulating widely because they fit into a broader narrative many audiences already find compelling, the idea that the monarchy is quietly preparing for its next chapter while presenting stability in public. Whether that narrative reflects reality remains impossible to determine from publicly available information. What is known, however, is that Prince William has consistently emphasized supporting his father throughout this period. Publicly, William has never suggested that the king should step aside, nor has Buckingham Palace indicated that such conversations are taking place. Even so, constitutional experts often explain that preparing for succession is entirely different from expecting succession to occur immediately. That distinction is frequently lost once speculation reaches social media. As one report is repeated by another commentator, and then another, possibilities can begin sounding like probabilities. Eventually, audiences may encounter dramatic headlines suggesting that abdication is close or already decided, despite the absence of official confirmation. This appears to be exactly what has happened in recent weeks. The rumors have become less about documented events and more about perceived signals. A change in the king's schedule, William attending a high-profile engagement, or adjustments to official appearances are sometimes interpreted by online commentators as evidence of larger developments taking place behind the scenes. Yet each of those events can also be explained by perfectly ordinary constitutional planning. That uncertainty is precisely what keeps the speculation alive. If the palace prepares for every scenario, as most constitutional institutions do, how would the public ever distinguish routine planning from preparations for something extraordinary? It is a question with no easy answer. For now, King Charles remains the reigning monarch and continues carrying out official duties, while Prince William continues supporting the crown in his role as heir. But the ongoing discussion has undeniably shifted public attention toward one larger question. If the moment ever arrived when the king genuinely believed he could no longer fulfill every responsibility expected of a sovereign, what decision would best serve both the man and the monarchy? According to royal commentators, that is the question quietly driving so much of today's speculation. even if, for now, it remains only a question rather than a confirmed reality. The longer the discussion continued, the more it became clear that the royal story was no longer about headlines alone. It had become a debate about leadership preparation and what the future of the monarchy might eventually look like if circumstances were ever to change. Royal commentators frequently point out that the public only sees a fraction of what goes into maintaining the institution. Behind every state visit, constitutional ceremony, and national event lies an enormous administrative structure responsible for ensuring that the crown continues functioning smoothly regardless of unexpected developments. That level of preparation is not unusual. It is considered one of the monarchy's greatest strengths. Even so, the recent wave of speculation has encouraged many royal observers to revisit one difficult question. If King Charles were ever to conclude that his health prevented him from carrying out every aspect of the role, how would that realization unfold? No official answer exists. Instead, countless theories have emerged. Some commentators believe the king would continue serving for as long as physically possible, following the example set by Queen Elizabeth II and placing duty above personal comfort. Others suggest that modern realities could eventually require a different approach, arguing that preserving the stability of the institution might sometimes mean allowing responsibilities to shift gradually toward the next generation. That debate has naturally brought Prince William into sharper focus. Unlike previous heirs at earlier stages of their lives, William already represents the monarchy at major national occasions, leads significant charitable initiatives, and regularly undertakes engagements that reflect his future role. Constitutional experts often explain that this gradual expansion of responsibility is entirely normal, but some online commentators have interpreted it as evidence that the palace wants every possible contingency covered. Again, none of those interpretations has been confirmed by Buckingham Palace. Still, the rumors have continued because they tap into a larger public fascination with how major transitions actually happen inside historic institutions. Several royal analysts have also observed that succession is rarely viewed as a single moment. Instead, they describe it as a process of preparation that unfolds over many years. Long before any formal constitutional change occurs, the future monarch gradually gains experience through increasingly complex responsibilities. That process has been visible in William's public role for quite some time. At the same time, Catherine, Princess of Wales, has become an equally important part of that discussion. Many commentators believe the Prince and Princess of Wales increasingly represent the monarchy's future image. Their charitable work, diplomatic engagements, and public appearances often attract significant international attention, leading some observers to suggest that they already carry much of the public expectation associated with the next generation of royal leadership. Those observations have fueled another layer of speculation. Some online commentators have claimed, without providing verified evidence, that senior palace officials may be quietly ensuring William is fully briefed on every constitutional responsibility that could eventually become his. While such claims remain unverified, they continue circulating because they appear plausible to many audiences familiar with how constitutional institutions traditionally prepare for long-term continuity. Whether those reports reflect reality remains unknown. What is known is that continuity has always been central to the British monarchy. Every generation prepares the next, often years before any formal transition takes place. That philosophy has allowed the institution to navigate wars, political change, economic crises, and periods of national uncertainty while maintaining constitutional stability. It is perhaps that history which makes today's speculation so compelling. People are not simply wondering what King Charles might do. They are asking how the monarchy itself would respond if faced with another defining moment. Would responsibilities gradually increase for Prince William while King Charles remained sovereign? Could existing constitutional mechanisms provide additional flexibility without requiring abdication? Or would the king, whose life has been shaped by an unwavering sense of duty, continue serving for as long as circumstances allowed? For now, those questions remain unanswered. Buckingham Palace has announced no abdication plans, and King Charles continues fulfilling public responsibilities. Yet the continuing discussion illustrates how closely every royal development is now examined. Small changes to schedules, appearances, or official announcements are often interpreted as possible clues, even when they may simply reflect ordinary planning. Whether any of the recent speculation ultimately proves meaningful remains to be seen. But one thing has become increasingly clear. The conversation has shifted far beyond rumors about one individual. It has become a broader discussion about resilience, succession, and the future direction of the modern monarchy, a conversation that is likely to continue every time the royal family enters another significant chapter. As public discussion continued, another important distinction began emerging among constitutional experts. They argued that many people were treating three very different concepts as though they meant the same thing: a monarch reducing public engagements, temporarily delegating certain responsibilities, and formally abdicating the throne. In reality, those are entirely separate constitutional situations. That distinction has become increasingly relevant as speculation surrounding King Charles has intensified. Royal commentators have noted that the king has continued carrying out official duties while also adapting his schedule around medical treatment. Buckingham Palace has provided periodic updates regarding his health, but those statements have consistently emphasized that he remains committed to fulfilling his responsibilities as sovereign. Nevertheless, every adjustment has generated fresh discussion online. For some commentators, each change is viewed as routine. For others, every schedule revision becomes another reason to speculate about the future. That contrast has created two very different narratives. The first is based on confirmed public information. The second is built largely on interpretation. According to various royal discussion channels, some observers believe the palace is carefully balancing transparency with stability. They argue that while no abdication has been announced, officials naturally prepare for every constitutional possibility behind the scenes. Those claims remain speculative, and there has been no official confirmation that extraordinary succession planning is underway. Still, the rumors have continued because they raise questions many people find impossible to ignore. If a monarch eventually reached the point where carrying every responsibility became increasingly difficult, what would happen next? Constitutional historians often explain that Britain's monarchy has evolved significantly over the past century. Modern communication, global diplomacy, and the pace of public life place enormous demands on senior royals. While the institution values continuity above almost everything else, it also recognizes the importance of maintaining public confidence during periods of uncertainty. That balance has become central to today's discussion. Many royal observers believe Prince William's expanding public role reflects long-term preparation rather than immediate transition. As Prince of Wales, William has gradually assumed greater responsibilities, representing the crown at major ceremonies, international events, and charitable initiatives. None of those developments is unusual for an heir to the throne. However, when viewed alongside ongoing speculation, they have inevitably attracted greater attention. The same has been true for Catherine, Princess of Wales. Despite facing her own health challenges in recent years, Catherine's return to public life has reinforced her position as one of the monarchy's most trusted and recognizable figures. Royal commentators frequently describe William and Catherine as representing continuity for the next generation, and many believe public confidence in their future roles remains exceptionally strong. Some commentators have even suggested that the increasing visibility of the Prince and Princess of Wales reflects a broader effort to reassure the public that the institution is prepared for the future, regardless of what challenges may arise. Again, there is no official confirmation that such a strategy exists, but it remains a recurring theme in royal analysis. Interestingly, not everyone agrees with the speculation surrounding abdication. Many historians point out that King Charles spent decades preparing for the throne and has repeatedly demonstrated a strong commitment to public duty. They argue that, based on both history and precedent, the king would likely continue serving for as long as constitutionally and medically possible. Others take a different view. They suggest that modern monarchies must remain adaptable, emphasizing that protecting the long-term stability of the institution may ultimately become more important than adhering to tradition at all costs. Neither perspective has been confirmed by the palace. Both remain matters of opinion. Perhaps that is why this story continues generating so much attention. It is not simply about whether King Charles could ever step aside. It is about how people imagine leadership, responsibility, and service inside one of the world's oldest constitutional institutions. Until Buckingham Palace announces otherwise, King Charles remains firmly on the throne, and any discussion of abdication remains speculative rather than established fact. Yet the continued debate has revealed something significant in its own right. Public interest is no longer focused solely on the present reign. Increasingly, people are looking toward the future, watching Prince William and Catherine with growing curiosity, wondering how the next chapter of the monarchy may eventually unfold, and whether that transition, whenever it comes, will resemble the expectations of the past or the realities of a very different modern world. In the end, perhaps the most remarkable aspect of this entire story is not the rumors themselves but the questions they have prompted. Whether discussing King Charles's health, Prince William's expanding responsibilities, or the future of the monarchy, the conversation has become less about dramatic headlines and more about how one of the world's oldest institutions prepares for change. For now, the facts remain clear. King Charles III continues to serve as the reigning monarch, and Buckingham Palace has made no announcement indicating that an abdication is being considered. Public duties continue, official engagements remain on the calendar, and constitutional continuity remains firmly in place. Yet speculation has shown no sign of slowing. Every public appearance is examined. Every palace statement is analyzed. Every adjustment to the king's schedule quickly becomes the subject of debate across television, newspapers, royal commentators, and social media platforms. Some observers see ordinary planning. Others see possible signals. Without official confirmation, however, those interpretations remain exactly that, interpretations. Still, the discussion has highlighted something important about the modern royal family. Unlike previous generations, today's monarchy exists in an age where information travels instantly. A single rumor can reach millions of people within hours, creating worldwide conversations long before verified facts become available. As a result, public perception often develops alongside speculation rather than confirmed reporting. Royal analysts frequently caution against treating online theories as established reality. At the same time, they acknowledge that public curiosity about the future of the crown has rarely been greater. Much of that curiosity naturally centers on Prince William. For decades, William has prepared for the role he will one day inherit, gradually assuming greater responsibilities while supporting his father throughout the early years of the current reign. His increasing visibility reflects the constitutional reality that every heir must be prepared long before succession eventually occurs. Alongside him stands Catherine, Princess of Wales, whose calm public presence continues to strengthen confidence among many royal observers. Together, they are widely viewed as representing the monarchy's next chapter. That perception alone has encouraged countless commentators to ask how the institution will continue evolving over the coming years. Some believe King Charles will remain committed to serving for as long as possible, following the example established by Queen Elizabeth II. Others suggest that modern constitutional realities could eventually lead to different conversations if circumstances were ever to change dramatically. For now, there is no official indication that such a moment has arrived. Yet the speculation itself illustrates how closely the royal family is watched around the world. Every decision, every appearance, and every announcement carries symbolic importance far beyond Britain's borders. Perhaps that is why stories like this attract such extraordinary attention. They touch on more than individual personalities. They explore ideas of duty, legacy, continuity, and leadership, qualities that have defined the monarchy for centuries. Whether today's speculation ultimately fades away or eventually becomes part of a much larger historical story remains impossible to predict. History has repeatedly shown that the British monarchy often changes gradually rather than suddenly, adapting over time while preserving the traditions that have sustained it through generations. Until any official announcement is made, King Charles remains on the throne, Prince William continues supporting the crown as heir, and discussions about abdication remain firmly within the realm of public speculation rather than confirmed constitutional change. Even so, one thing is certain. The world will continue watching every development closely, searching for clues about what lies ahead for Britain's royal family. And perhaps that is the enduring fascination of the monarchy itself. Its future is never shaped by headlines alone. It is shaped by time, by duty, by public trust, and by decisions that history often understands only long after they have been made. Whatever the next chapter ultimately brings, millions of people across the world will be watching, not simply to see who wears the crown, but to witness how one of history's most enduring institutions continues to navigate an ever-changing modern world.